Yeah. All these students. Yeah.
Christine, can you just test your mic for me real quick?
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
Hello, I'd like to call this meeting of the Madison Board of Education to order. Could we please rise for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I guess next we start with the school and community section where we have public participation. And I'll turn it over to Emily for anybody who'd like to speak.
I don't think we have any members of the public online, and I think everyone here in person is a special guest, so we'll move on.
Excellent. All right. Next is my favorite part of the meeting, which is our student representatives, Grace and Brooke. I'll turn it over to you.
So in the beginning of March, we concluded our trimester. And during that time, I was actually away in Washington for the United States Senate Youth Program, which is 2 students per state chosen through, it's a rigorous application process. It varies by state, but I spent an immersive week in Washington meeting with legislators. We had a conference with Justice Kavanaugh in the Supreme Court. That was one of my favorite parts. We met with Pete Hegseth in the Pentagon. That was very unique. And we got tours of the White House and other renowned buildings. And then on top of that, each delegate gets a $10,000 scholarship. So that was a really cool experience for me. And I've been encouraging that it's for juniors or seniors, and I've been encouraging the underclassmen to apply because it really changed my perspective on education and just our legislation. So that was really exciting. But yes, trimester 2 wrapped up. We only have 1 trimester left. That's kind of you're probably excited for that. And we're starting our spring sports, and Swin just won the SEC 2nd place. So that's better than they've done in the past. And tomorrow we have SAT for some juniors and NGSS, which is a science assessment, and that will take place Wednesday, tomorrow, and then the next Wednesday.
And Brooke, how do you feel about that?
So nice. Tomorrow I'll be sleeping in, so next 2 Wednesdays I'll be sleeping in.
Yeah.
But going on to like the school year, kind of, we did go straight ahead until April break. There's not really much breaks for the juniors especially, but there's some fun things happening with the arts. Tonight was the opening ceremony for the K through 12 art show in the library, so it'll be up for quite a while, I believe, so if you have a chance, go check it out. It's so cool to see like the range of art. I know like my stuff has been in there since probably kindergarten, and I have those pictures to prove it, but so cool. And then we have a really exciting opportunity happening on March 31st. There is the animator of Pixar's Inside Out 2, who is going to be on a Zoom call for interested art students, and I'm sure it's open to any interested students. I don't think you have to be a part of the arts, but she's going to talk about her experience being an animator and what it takes to work in that creative process and with such a big organization like Pixar. So I think that's going to be super cool and a very exciting opportunity that many people cannot say they've experienced.
And how is that set up?
I'm not entirely sure, but I believe, yeah, do you wanna, yeah, it's a Zoom meeting?
It'll be a Zoom in one of the larger art rooms.
This
that
is
will
Angle
allow
Art
for
set
anyone.
up. And the presenter is actually a Daniel Hand grad, so I don't know how
So that's just
we got connected. but-
more testimony to the great work that you guys do.
Absolutely.
Great.
That's awesome.
That's pretty much all that's going on this month.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any comments or questions?
Just real quick, it's Board Member Appreciation Month, and we had sweatshirts for you with our new sports logo on it.
I have
So
nothing with the new
No, me
logo,
too.
so
Oh,
I
good.
really appreciate that.
just want to thank you. You know, a lot of boards have student reps, but they don't always attend every meeting, so every other week. So you have attended, very regularly, and we appreciate it, and it's a huge commitment also to do it for the 2 years. So we appreciate everything you do, and you bring so much to our meeting. As Gail has said, I think that's unanimous of the 9 board members and myself, that it's the best part of the meeting to hear from our students what's going on at the high school. So
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Alright.
And as always, you're free to leave and get ready for.
Put it on and you can just.
I know.
Tomorrow.
Enjoy it. 3-hour delay.
Good luck, Grace.
Thank you. Yeah, good. Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, good luck.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks. Great.
Okay. So the main part of our meeting tonight consists of a couple of presentations. One with the school counseling and the other with the NEASC accreditation. And when things are ready, I guess we can have Dr. Cook take over.
Yeah, just real brief intro. Both presentations tonight are going to be very exciting. We're have some excellent news to share. School counseling has been doing some amazing work over a lot of years, but there's even some new things that they are introducing to the high school, and it's been very well received. And it's just such a great area of support for our students in so many different ways. Students come to school counseling on their best day and their worst day, and our counselors are there to support them through that. So we just have a great team, and I know they've been working on this presentation for several months. It was a request of our board to hear, because they've heard from us in the administration, about the things that have been going on and from families. So they're really excited to hear what you have to say. I know we have a few board members short of where we normally are. We had some family issues and an illness, and but I know they'll be watching on video, and as well as dozens of people online. So with further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Jen Holly, our school counseling coordinator.
Thank you, and thanks for having us here tonight. Yeah, it's been a while, I think, since we really kind of shared what our department does, especially at the high school level. And there's a lot of new things, and there's just a lot of kind of like what our day-to-day really looks like. So I brought the entire team with me to share a little bit about that. And just so we could provide an overview literally of our day-to-day, although we don't really know what our day looks like, I don't think, until we literally walk in the door and see what that will look like. But everyone will share different parts of our department. And I just want to introduce our team before they speak. Chrissy Coyle, who's our college and career counselor. Kyle Hines, Jordan Millardo, Deb Rossi, and Cynthia Scarston, all our school counselors. Again, we're not only gonna share the scope of what we do as school counselors, but also demonstrate how we support our students and their families, how we communicate with our students and families, and all of our stakeholders. So we want to highlight how we support them, whether it's individually, whether it's in the classroom, through testing, through all kinds of areas. So we just want to share that with you and kind of give examples of what that might look like. We know administration shares a lot of like our AP scores and SAT testing and things like that. So this really isn't going to be about numbers or anything. We really want you to see what we do and what we offer the students. So we're going to talk about some different things like our scheduling process, which includes how we assist students not only in our school, but maybe at Polson with the 8th grade scheduling process, or at country school and things like that we've done this year. Also, just the types of interactions that we have with our students and what that looks like, and our college and future planning, and that's a big part of our job. So we'll share that process with you. And our new platform, School Links. I don't think Chrissy has shared that with the board yet. So we'll share that. We got rid of Naviance this year and started something new, and I think it's been a very positive thing. I know we like it better than Naviance. We needed a change, so that's been all good, and the students seem to like it too, so that's great. And then again, just about our daily support and what we offer our students. Good and bad days, as Craig said. We definitely see it all. So we'll share all of that with you. The team will share that with you. So I want to turn it over to the team and let them, we'll start with Deb Rossi, right?
Yep.
So
I'm gonna
clicking.
got in charge of that, so. So I'm just gonna overview the scheduling and where it kind of begins. We go down to the 8th grade classrooms, and each of us shares that responsibility, and we speak to the 8th graders to give them an overview of classes, some information about the electives, what a typical schedule would look like. They understand trimesters, but to really, see how the credits fit into what the trimester system then is going to provide for them. Because it's strange to them that literature will end after 2 trimesters, and how do electives fit in around that. So we explain all those things, why they're choosing the different things, how those credits add up to graduation. So we give them a quick overview, but then kind of help them guide them a little bit through picking some of the electives. Their teachers will guide them through choosing some different leveling for some of the classes. And then later on in the spring, which I think is currently just getting kind of put together now, is another current Daniel Hand students will go in and have a question and answer and be able to provide some more information about what to expect when they come up next year. So we do try to offer some transition support, and then of course talking with the counselors who are there at Polson too as well for any questions that they have. For out-of-district students, we have an open house for OLM Country School, and they come in for a day. We pair them up with current Daniel Hand students, and they walk around, get a chance to see the building, answer the overview of what your day is like, when does it start, when does it end, how do you eat lunch, where's lunch, everybody wants to know that. And then we'll kind of go through, did I hit something? Nope. Okay. So then we kind of go through, a question and answer period where they can come in and say, well, how do I know what classes I'm supposed to start with? How do I know how, what level I'm supposed to be taking? What are some things that are offered here in Daniel Hand that I can get excited about as I go through my 4 years? So we do that as a larger group for OLM and Country School. And then as needed, our support staff will also, provide tours and things for kids who are coming in. So we do that too as well.
This is my day. I kind of had to hotwire this thing, so bear with me for.
We want to ask questions throughout or at the end?
Yeah, you can ask for us.
Is that okay?
Sure.
Well, we're sort of, I'm curious about for the Polson students, if they have further questions, like, do they have the opportunity to follow up, and also, or do they know at that 8th grade meeting, this is gonna be your person for the next 4 years? Like, do they get introduced to that system as well?
So they don't get introduced to who their person is going to be. I mean, I let them know that I'm generally the beginning of the alphabet, or we'll say, you know, if your
Okay.
name falls in there.
Okay,
The first chance that they'll get eyes on the counselor is at that orientation meeting in the fall when they come in, so we're all there for that orientation when they come in, so they can kind of meet and see who we are.
Yeah.
And then, as far as, repeat your first question?
oh, just if they have questions about the classes, the placement at that initial meeting, if they have opportunities for following up for more.
I'm gonna go to for
Yeah.
that until they get their counselor,
Got
so. Any of that, I get scheduling emails and things like that all the time, so I'll respond to that until. I decide the alphabet breakdown.
Got it.
Yeah.
Which is usually pretty similar, like you said, so.
And Marissa, well, the current 8th grade counselor also, you know,
Oh,
knows to
sure.
reach out, kind of provide that transition too as well, so there's lots of communication back and forth. She'll email, you know, us questions, say, oh, a kid has a question about this, what do we do? And,
Yeah.
you know, kind of try to provide support the best we can, so it does go for Marissa, or the 8th grade counselor at the current time. Well,
We're
this
gonna
one
look
here.
here now. Thank you for being flexible.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
Way to go, Tom.
Okay, I gotta go fast. Nope, okay, so I guess we're going top down. So I'm just gonna provide a quick overview of what we do for each of the grade levels. So for upperclassmen, you know, in addition to the daily support that we offer for the good days and bad days, I really like how you said that. So we start off like kind of cooperating with advisory lessons. So one of the first things that we did for the juniors is we kind of did this, you know, there's a World Mental Health Day. And so we brought in some advisory groups and were able to communicate with them in larger groups to see our kids. Or our caseload, and we were able to kind of go through, what everybody's worried about is that next step. How do I get prepared for that next step? What are the things that I should be worried about when I'm thinking as a junior to be ready for my next step? So we did the college race and mission gain, and talked about how it's a really holistic perspective that you want to be putting yourself forward as far as what sports are you doing, what clubs are you doing, what arts are you doing, what are you doing outside, are you working, how do you spend your time 2 o'clock on, and to be thinking about those aspects and, you know, starting to put together activities lists and different things like that. So we kind of did, you know, group meetings with them for the juniors. For the seniors of the upperclassmen of the advisory, we did a question and answer very much like this, where they're able just to ask us anything. And that went really, really well, because some of them were worried about all different things, and we were able to answer those questions on the spot for them, and they drove that entire, at least for most of us, they drove that entire meeting. And they came up and we're so thankful that we just had that sit down with just my small group, and a lot of kids had to say like, oh yeah, I didn't realize that, so it was really nice to be able to have that. And we went over upcoming events, the exciting things for senior year, what to look forward to, and just some things for that. So that's our initial advisory lesson. Early in the fall, we did that within the first month. And then for the 11-12, for grade 11, it's a little heavier. We have individual student meetings, with them to be able to pick out their courses and make sure they're on track for their career goals. We have individual family meetings, which we'll outline in more detail later on. We sit down with the family, they come in, and it's an individual, you know, student planning meeting where we talk about what they're going to do post high school, and then provide ongoing support for academics and wellness as needed. Some kids we see weekly, some kids we see monthly, some kids we see daily. So it just depends on the day. It depends on what's going on. For fall, for seniors, you know, we see them a lot during the fall. They're in and out depending on when their application dates are due. We provide continued support for that. We're there for free application day. We keep the career centers, you know, well staffed so they can come in and get ready for that free application day, so that we get those out to take advantage of that and get those things out. So we're there for those days, but in addition to that, crunch time, Halloween has a whole new meeting the day before our November 1st applications now. And then at the end, with the seniors, we're gonna have individual exit meetings in the spring to track plans, graduation, once they've made their decision. So we'll sit down with each of them to say goodbye. That's my least favorite part of my job, but because I don't like saying goodbye to them because it's been a journey. In 9 and 10, we have that mental health day. We have that introduction where we meet them. We meet them at the orientation when they first come in. They have eyes on us. We're kind of walking around, milling around, so they can kind of get used to who we are. And then within the first month, we have individual meetings with them, so they know who we are, how to contact us. We get them on our Google Classroom. They know how to email us. They can ask for appointments through our Google Classroom, so that they don't feel comfortable coming into the office. They can request an appointment. How do they email us? And you give them the opportunity to be able to kind of start thinking about getting adjusted to Daniel Hand. We have a fun slideshow that we go through with pictures of TJ on there and pictures of, Mr. Bodnar and Miss Witcher, and these are the important people you need to know, and Mr. Farrell, and so that way they can get a chance to kind of, know some inner workings of Daniel Hand. So we had introductory meetings for that too as well. Again, individual student meetings to choose classes for the next year. How did freshman year go? They pick a lot of levels going into sophomore year, so really talking to them about what that means, appropriate challenge, not overloading their schedule. Just to help them balance that as they talk to their teachers for what the next level should be. And then providing ongoing support for academics and wellness as they go through too as well. Any questions on those overview that I can answer for you?
Just will say the trip to country school and the outreach is really working. We've had more students than ever contact my office that they're at that point that don't live in town but are looking to tuition in. And then I know the registration's been very busy with Madison students.
That was the first year that we actually went there and did that, and I think that was very helpful. We'll continue that next year. Jordan and I went over, so.
That's great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, thank you, and then. Oh, no. Nice.
All right, so I have the privilege of talking about junior meetings to start, and every academic year at Daniel Hand High School is important, but junior year has a little bit more like different obstacles to overcome, like college search, where you want to go, what you want to do, and there's a lot of pressures within that. And the next steps after high school are not only a 4-year college, it's a 2-year, it could be a trade school, it could be military. And we kind of put together an entire approach and try to talk about an entire profile of the student and where they will be beneficial and where they will benefit. One of the first steps we do is look at the transcripts. That's grades. So every final grade that is finished at Daniel Hand High School gets a transcript. Colleges don't see like marking period trimester grades. First trimester of senior year, we will send report cards to the colleges. But on the transcripts, you have grades 9 through 12, and it's only the final grade of those classes that you've taken and completed at Daniel Hand High School. And then in the bottom left of those transcripts is gonna be your weighted GPA and your unweighted GPA. We send both. We ask them to report the higher of the two on what's called our common application. And then what the difference between them is that your weighted GPA is grades 10 through 12. And it counts leveled courses. So your level 1s will be worth more than your level 2s, which are then worth more than your level 3s. And then your unweighted GPA is going to be grades 9 through 12, and it doesn't count leveled courses. So every course that you take, whether it be Algebra 2 level 2 or AP Psychology, in that unweighted GPA, it's worth the same. So that is the difference between those for the transcript piece. In our junior meeting, we also go over the distribution of classes to make sure that the students are on track to graduate. We make sure that they're in all of the right classes. We check it every trimester, especially for seniors. And we just make sure that they're on that path, across that stage in June. And that goes for every single student and every counselor that has the same kind of process to go make sure that happens. Letters of rec. This is one of my most fun conversations with parents and students. And so what we do is we try to focus on letters from teachers with a couple aspects. Number one, what do you want to do? Do you want to go into STEM? Do you want to go into the medical field? Do you want to do something with law? And so if those are all the cases, what letters are going to work best for you? So going into STEM, we would really try to encourage them to get at least one math, science, computer science teacher in that letters of rec. For the humanities side, we have our history and our English courses. And so we would recommend that they would ask those teachers as well. The process to request them is we ask the students to verbally ask them. And then in the fall, we'll request them through school links. And we really try to advise our students at the end of the whole process, to email the teachers thanking them and telling them where they go. I think it's really important and something that we really worked on as a department to make sure that teachers are aware that their letters were appreciated, were used, and really helped in the process. Built in our curriculum is the college essay. So English courses junior year, you're gonna start using you're gonna write your college essay. And one of the things that I like to say is just take it as serious as you can. You know, it's one less thing off of your plate come fall, senior year. And the English teachers do a wonderful job with that process because honestly, the Common App prompts haven't changed, I don't think, since I've been a counselor. So, you know, we advise them to just go through it, work with your teacher, have a couple of sets of eyes on it when you're done with it. And then, you know, the rest is history and we send it off. So in the fall, we have visits from colleges, the counselors within those college, recruiting officers. And this year, we had 71 colleges come in the fall to talk to all of our students for those who signed up for specific colleges, along with 4 military branches that came in to talk to students specific to the field, to the branch that they might be interested in. So all of this incorporates our junior meeting. It's probably one of my favorite things that, you know, I do as a school counselor because it's kind of a team effort. One of my biggest things is I tell them, like, I'm your co-pilot for whatever vehicle you want to drive throughout this process, and I'm along, you know, I'll be there the whole step of the way, answering questions, giving some thoughts and ideas. Questions on junior meetings?
I have another question. I'm just curious if you've seen sort of trends over time or changes as how students approach the post-high school world.
Yeah. So when I first started, we had a really high percentage of 4-year colleges, no matter where that would be, state schools. What I'm seeing is it's still a really high percentage, but there's more kids taking a 2-year college to get their common classes out of the way.
Yeah.
Military and also trades. You know, we have a really big, I think, population of kids who want to go into a trade.
Yeah.
And you know, our career and college counselor in the school really works hard with setting them up for success, and it's a wonderful thing that we have there. So yeah, I do think that the percentages of 4-year colleges are not as high just in general throughout the country. But I think that the plan that they have in place when they leave a school like Hand is set. And so I don't think that's ever an issue of these kids not knowing where they want to be.
Do you think the CTE options open more opportunities within that field?
Absolutely. Yeah, the amount of variations of classes within that department, along with all theirs, it's awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so when I started, I went to Jen, in my internship prior to Hand, I ran a common application workshop for the summer. So in my first year at Hand, I went to Jen and I went to TJ to talk to them about the idea and what it does. It's a common app workshop. And obviously, that's what it says. But what it does is it allows students to come in in the summer, and fill out their entire college application as full as we can. There's a lot of details inside of it, like your family's education, where your mom, dad, or guardian went to school, what year they graduated, what degrees they have. And in my intro letter that I send out, I do ask, I ask them to bring all that information, so that they have it and so that we can kind of fill in as much as we can. I run so it'll be 4 total sessions. It'll be 2 hours, 2 days. So I go 9 to 11 on one that day, and then 12 to 2 is the next session. We cap it at 20 students, which just allows me, because I'm there by myself, which is something that I truly enjoy doing. And it just allows me to get around and answer questions for everybody. It's really low key. half the time kids are coming in, they're going to the beach after, they come over to Starbucks. It's really a nice environment where they're filling out an application without like stress. And I think that's really important, actually.
That's great.
So we go through the profile, the education, the testing. And by the time they're done, they're probably, the only thing left is for them to complete that essay.
That's great.
Questions on that?
How many kids usually do that?
So sometimes I get like 20. And sometimes we had it at 25 one year, I got up to 25. I would say on average, there's 15 to 20.
Do you ever turn anybody away or?
We don't.
do another?
Yeah, we would
Yeah,
have it.
I didn't think so.
I would go to 30.
One of us would come in with you, Tanya.
Yeah.
I know you do it alone.
No, that's, it's just something that I really enjoy doing, and so, yeah,
Awesome.
thanks.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the communication pieces and how we reach out to, the community. Of course, emails and phone calls. We communicate home with regarding, student updates. We attend, all the counselors alternate, and we attend the PTO meetings multiple times during the school year. E-Notify, of course, information we send out directly from the counseling office through Principal Salutary's weekly E-Notify. Some examples of these announcements are PSAT and SAT information, college fair information, whether it's held at hand or at different local places. And then this information is also available on our website. Google Classroom, all the counselors have Google Classroom sites, and it's by grade level, and we invite all the students to join our Google Classrooms. And we have a lot of information listed in the Google Classroom. So some of the information includes Calendly. So that's a really interesting program. It's an electronic program where students can schedule their own appointments to see their counselors. So they can see, the times of the day that we're busy, and they can, come in. Obviously, we encourage them to come in during their free periods or in between classes. Then we also have college and career information. We provide information for them about guest speakers, field trips, and a variety of valuable future planning information. We have college scholarship information and federal financial aid, FAFSA information also on our website. We also have college visits. It's one of the other subject areas. We list the dates and the times that the college representatives come visit us every fall. And we also list locations, of the local college fairs. We have another piece in there where we give them information about earning college credit while in high school. There's a variety of different ways that they can do that. We also provide them school links information, mental health information, school resources such as Daniel Hand High School Club, sports, working papers, some of those things as well. We provide information about standardized testing, and then of course, internship and volunteer opportunities for our students. So there's a ton of information in there. And then this information also includes, we have a school website that includes news for students and family, including, documents and forms that they might be interested in using. So testing at Daniel Hand High. So tomorrow is the SAT testing that Grace spoke about. So first of all, we have AP exams. They're usually taken by the juniors and seniors who have enrolled in AP courses at hand. Each AP exam is usually about 3 hours each, and it focuses on one specific subject area. Our students can opt to register for multiple AP exams. And this year, the counselors, so we all proctor approximately 19 different AP exams during the weeks of May 5th through May 16th. Okay, and then we move on to the SAT, of course. It's a test that assesses students in the area of reading and math. Each of the counselors proctors this 2 hour and 14-minute, it's all digital tests for all of our juniors. As we said, the first testing dates begin tomorrow. This year, the test is on 2 dates, March 19th. And then also on March 26th, so we break the students up according to alphabetically. In addition to the school day SAT tests, the SATs are also offered on designated Saturdays during months of August, September, October, November, December, March, May, and June. Okay, Daniel Hand High is the testing site for 5 of the 8 Saturday SATs. And many of the school counselors, we also proctor the Saturday SATs. And then the last test is the PSAT, which of course we know is practice for the SAT. It's a 2-hour and 14-minute digital test that assesses our sophomores and juniors in the areas of reading and math. This year, the counselors gave this test to our sophomores on October 1st and to our juniors on October 2nd. Okay. That's it for me about communications. Any questions or?
Okay, so I'm up next about student support. So I just wanted to break down just a couple of the things that we do for those students. So the first thing is emergency support for students. So we provide assistance and guidance in response to any 211 or 911 related emergencies involving our students. So ensuring their safety, obviously, and well-being are prioritized during those critical situations. We also respond to any security and student concerns, so that comes top down from administration. So we respond to any student safety concerns within the building, addressing those concerns directly with students and notifying parents if appropriate, obviously, to ensure their awareness. So all those situations are handled with care and in line with our safety protocols within the building. DCF protocol, obviously in compliance and student safety is followed as well. So we follow and report any concerns with our DCF protocols, ensuring our student safety and well-being are always our top priority. Recently, this was new this year, our BEMIS rating scale for mental health support. So it is a behavioral and instructional management assessment scale system. I think at this point, we're planning on doing it twice. In the fall, we have done it, and we're planning to do it one more time in the spring. So that is used to monitor students' emotional and mental well-being. So if a student reaches a certain marker on this scale, counselors proactively check in with those students to assess their mental health and provide any support, as well as following up home and can continue support throughout the school year if needed. We also have a student support team, so we call that SST. That is a bi-weekly collaborative meeting with educators, counselors, administrators, and other specialists in our building who work together to address any academic, social, emotional, and behavior needs for students. At that point, the team identifies any strategies or interventions needed for our student success. And then we also have an attendance committee or meetings. When those concerns come up, it is established to address the students like loss of credit, if that's due to excessive absences. Something is implemented by a proactive approach, and our goal is to hopefully promote accountability and improve student engagement and ultimately prevent attendance related academic setbacks for the future. And then the next piece before Ms. Coyle goes in more deeply with our SchoolLinks. So SchoolLinks is our new program that took over Naviance, which we are very, very excited about. And these are kind of all of the new features that are in it. I did talk a little bit more about this in our recent PTO meeting, but I just kind of wanted to break down and highlight each of the key pieces. So it does have a new comprehensive college search tool. So meaning students can use and explore a wide range of colleges and universities based on preferences, and the preferences are so wide. So there's academic goals, locations, sizes, and you can basically use it as a giant filter and search tool. So it's really, really neat, parents as well. Personalized college recommendations. So SchoolLinks also provides the choice for each student to select their recommender, which Naviance never did. So for example, in the fall, when we meet with those seniors, if a school only lets you choose one teacher for a letter of recommendation, previously Naviance, it would only be the teacher that just submitted it first. And if you're right, there's the nods. And if you want to select, your math teacher because you want to be a math major, or like Mr. Hines was saying, apply in something STEM, you can now choose who that one teacher would be per school, which is really, really nice. It is a streamlined college application process, so students can complete and track their application all in one place, including counselors, which is great. So we can see their deadlines, they can see their deadlines. We can also give them reminders like, hey, your application is due in 3 days. I see you haven't submitted. Is there anything we can help you with? Which before in Naviance, we could see that our application was due, but not what they were missing, which is really nice, and we now can. It also has a built-in application checklist for
alternate deadlines and assignments, or excuse me, and documents too. It also provides them with test score tracking and their GPA, so it has a tab for student performance. Their GPAs and test scores get updated every trimester. So if they've taken the SAT and they're reporting that back, that gets uploaded right on there. As well as our GPAs, like I said, are updated each trimester. The college fit assessment, so they can also, when they are searching and adding schools to their favorites, or if they add it to their list, so like a parent can create their list, a student can create their list. It will tell them, it goes through, and based on that data that's already provided, it will say, this school is a reach, this school is a target, this school, right? And then it kind of will go from there. This one's a safety, which is really nice. So we kind of explain to them that you should have one in each bucket, and that's what it should look like. But it really spells it out for you, and they're color coded, which is really nice too. It also provides you a virtual college tour and an event list, like right on that school. So when you're clicking on it, it will give you a virtual tool. So it basically pulls everything from the college website into one giant tab, which is so nice. So you're not clicking from link to link to link. And you can basically just see it remotely and then decide if you want to go step foot on that campus or make that drive or book that flight. It also has collaborative tools for like families and counselors. So again, parents get a login as well, and they can then claim their child so they can see all their things, and they can also add as well. They can see just as much as a student can do. It shows like the news ranking feature, and then it will even show like average monthly temperature of the school. Like it shows that much information. And then even by career and major exploration. So if your student doesn't even know where in the United States they want to go, they can start by even searching by major and narrow down from there. So it does 10 times more than Naviance could ever do, and we are very thankful. Any questions on student support or schooling search features? Yeah.
I do, this looks great. Does the school links reduce your workload or free up your time?
In the sense of, I would say tracking down students and backloading that, yes. It's been phenomenal. I would say it definitely also helps students in keeping track of things themselves, because it spells it all out for them. Like they can see their list, and when they link school links to Common App, I guess is the easiest way to put it. It puts all their due dates, and they can see also what they need to, and parents can as well, again, if their account is made. So it just, yeah, I think it really helps streamline things is the better way to say it, yeah.
I think it helps us use our time more wisely.
And effectively, yeah. And also, yeah, and just helping them with the whole process in general. It's just much more
The
effective.
tracking was great.
Yes.
And I think most importantly is they're using it.
Yes.
So Naviance, no matter what we did, it was so difficult to get them to embrace and use it. I look on every day and see how many people are on it, who's using it, what grade levels, and they're using it.
Yeah, and we're in the midst of our junior meetings right now that Mr. Hines had mentioned, that Kyle said, and parents had sent, we had sent them a link home saying, here's how you can create a parent account. It's 5 easy steps. It's really, really super easy. Some of them had not seen it, so I'm sending the reminder as they have left. And my little preview in it says, it's not super scary, I promise. The more you do, the easier you'll find it. Like the more you play around with the program, the most, like I've gotten such positive feedback saying you are so right. The more I've clicked around, this has been phenomenal. I have not heard one negative review about this program, which has been phenomenal. So, no, we really appreciate it.
And is junior year when they're typically introduced to the,
No.
or is it any time, or?
No, Miss Clo's gonna touch on that.
Okay, segue.
Yeah, it's perfect segue.
No.
If there's no other questions.
Yeah, so some of you might know or remember that our department recently went through the curriculum review process. So when we were writing our curriculum, we wrote some lessons for students of undergraduates, got college on the brain, underclassmen to spend time with me in larger group settings through their English and history classes. So some of the main objectives for these lessons are to just help them explore college and career options, and then to develop their post-secondary goals. And the emphasis this year was hugely on SchoolLinks, because it is our new platform, and getting 800 students on board is somewhat of an undertaking. So it was kind of a good venue to do that through the classroom. So the chart below just shows you some of the topics that we covered. Each grade level, the main emphasis was on SchoolLinks, but with grade 9, it was a little more general. We had a discussion about career clusters and just different groupings of careers and how that relates to their interests. And then they took a would you rather assessment on school links that matched them with career clusters that could be a good fit based on their personality. And then they spent some time just diving into the career profiles. There's so much on there. Everything from education and training needed to related jobs to skill sets that are important. Obviously salary they're interested in, outlook, everything that you could possibly imagine is on there. With grade 10, we talked about PSAT results, what those numbers mean. Moving forward, how do you use those to prepare for standardized tests when they are going to be super important and are going to count for your future. And then we spent some time on the resume builder, which is an awesome feature on School Link. So the students can take some time and add their extracurricular activities in anything from clubs and sports to music, volunteer work, jobs, and with a push of a button, they actually have a nicely formatted resume. So we're really trying to encourage them to use this as they go through their high school year so that when they do need a resume for something, they'll have it at their fingertips. So junior year, as Kyle stated, it can be a time of confusion and stress. So we spent some time thinking about the calendar, talking about a timeline, different tasks to sort of accomplish at different times of the year so that they're on track and not feeling overwhelmed. If you've been through the college process, you remember your college applications yourself, there's a lot of terminology and vocabulary that's a little confusing or misleading. So we made some fun with that and had a little trivia game to see what their knowledge is and try to demystify some of the strange vocabulary. And then they spent some time doing the college search that Jordan just outlined and looking at careers as well. You'll notice there's no senior lessons up there. And the reason for that is really just by senior year, their needs are so individualized that it just makes more sense for me to work with them individually. But I do host some like group workshop activities. So we have financial aid workshops and help with the Common App and help with the SRAR. If you don't know what that is, consider yourself grateful. If you do know what it is, you know why they need help. So this is some of the fun, really fun stuff associated with my job. We've been really lucky to have some really fun field trips this year. We've also had some interesting guest speakers in to talk to students. I certainly don't want to go over every single one in detail, but I'll just highlight a few. Starting with Neck River Elementary, our friends with the management team invited us 3 times on 3 different occasions. We went over to visit. So the first visit was for students who are interested in trades. So things like construction, plumbing, electrical, masonry. So we met with a lot of the tradesmen there and learned about their career paths and their training. The second time we went was actually about architecture and engineering. So the design team was really helpful in giving information to our students who are thinking about those career paths. And then finally, we met with the project management and learned all about that, which I found very overwhelming, so many details. I'm glad they're doing it and not me. Our STEM symposium, this was put together by Junior Achievement and the Women in Bio program. And this was a really fun interactive day with hands-on activities. So you can see the top 2 pictures there. We have some girls. The first one is doing a water testing treatment. This is the Regional Water Authority that talked about how they test water and what they do to remedy situations. On the top right are some girls working together. This is a biomedical engineering presentation, and they are actually, believe it or not, making a prosthetic leg, which I think they did a good job given the materials they were working with, a plunger and some duct tape. So it kind of worked, but it was fun. For Porter and Chester, instead of just visiting the college, they actually did some demonstrations. So you can see one of our juniors there decked out in his welding gear, ready for that demo. And the electrical instructor had the students actually put together a 4-way light switch. So the young man on the right is very intently focusing on his wiring to not get things crossed. I don't know about you, but I've tried to put in a 2-way light switch. It didn't go well. So 4-way is even more complicated. And then, what else can I talk about? Electric boat application day. This is the second year that we've done this with some partners on the shoreline, so. We had 7 seniors successfully interview for full-time jobs after graduation. Got some great feedback from the Human Resources Department, and now we're just anxiously awaiting those job offers to start rolling in, which hopefully will be next month. So those are some of the field trips. And then as far as speakers go, my favorite was Adventure EXP. So I'm a big fan of a gap year for some people, but I'm not a big fan of the price tag sometimes on these programs. But Adventure EXP is a company that helps kids secure travel work experiences. So they're getting paid and they're getting to live in a really fun part of the country or somewhere abroad and just have a really interesting learning gap year. We have next month, we have a meteorologist coming in, so he'll be in to talk with kids about meteorology, but also just about broadcasting in general. So I think that'll be a pretty well attended event. So those are just some of the examples of some of the fun stuff that kids get to explore. Our department also works on some larger scale events. So last month we had our Career Expo. We had about 60 professionals come in from a huge range of career areas. I think it was really a fun and informative morning for the kids, but also for the presenters. We had a lot of demonstration materials. So for example, there was a land surveying company that brought the equipment, let the kids use that. The United Illuminating brought a lot of tools and equipment. I'm not sure what all of it did, but it did draw in a lot of interest from the kids. We had an artist who brought some for work, and then of course, lots of people with candy and swag and handouts. So a lot of enticing, encouraging things at the table to draw kids in and have them come talk to the people. We have our post-secondary showcase coming up at the end of April. So we'll have probably about 100 colleges, technical and trade schools, military organizations, other type of training organizations. Everyone is welcome, students grades 9 through 12. It's never too early or too late to explore options. Parents should come as well. It'll be from 6 to 7:30, so we're excited for that. And then we have our future planning day coming up in May. So this is where juniors get to select and attend different workshops focusing on a variety of post-secondary topics. And we're currently finalizing the options. You can see this, the flyer from last year up there. Probably can't read some of those options, but there was quite a range of offerings, everything from writing a college essay to learning about LinkedIn, behind the scenes and admissions and options within the military. So there's hopefully something for everyone in that variety there. So without the help of our community partners, honestly, we couldn't do any of that. So we are really grateful for just all of the support from these partnerships, and we're definitely looking to expand. We want to provide more experiential learning opportunities for kids. So building this network is just a never-ending ongoing initiative. I'm always on the hunt for interesting people who want to connect with our students. Zoe has been super helpful in getting information out through the local newspaper, through Dr. Cook's newsletter. You know, this has just been a great thing to have our kids connect with community members. Right now, what we're looking for would be job shadow and internship mentors mostly. We do have a good number of students who are looking to do some kind of internship. Summer's coming. Yes, they want some beach time, but they actually want to be productive with their summer, which I'm really proud of them for. And they want to explore, they want to learn, and they want to be on the job. So the more people we can get to host these opportunities, I think the better. And then, of course, we're always looking for guest speakers and volunteers for the Career Expo. So if you know of anyone, send them my way. Okay, do you guys have any questions?
I don't know if we have any more questions. It's just like a few minutes of our day. We wanted to share that.
Sounds like the new school link is links
Yeah.
is great. And so we should.
Chrissy did a lot of research.
Yeah.
It's really a good program.
It paid off for sure.
Yes.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
Nicely done.
I think it's very impressive. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
So much you do. Thank you so much. Awesome.
Well, thank you for having us. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
And if you have any questions, always reach out for sure.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
And this will be on our website, too, I think, for parents.
Yeah, the full presentation.
Full presentation.
Okay, yeah. So much going on.
Yeah, it's amazing too, the number of colleges you still have coming in on a, weekly basis, and then for the college fairs and things like that. That's impressive. That I think that's fallen off a lot of places. That's not like it used to be. So, thank you for making those connections and making it so easy for our students to make those connections. Yeah, thank you for everything you do. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Busy day tomorrow, so we'll let you, you're free to stay for the next presentation, but free to go as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so as the board knows, we received our NEAS report about a month ago, and one of the many tasks that they have, and this has been going on for several years, but they're publicizing it and sharing it with groups. I believe they shared it or are going to share it with the Daniel Hand PTO, and portion of that is the board. I know the board has received the report and they have questions on the report, but I want to start with the presentation tonight. So thank you, Mr. Salvatore, and turn it over to you.
Thanks, Dr. Kirk. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I just want to say that counselors could have talked for 5 more hours, for everything they do. And I just like to thank them. They support our entire school community, always student-centered, and their efforts are amazing. And like that question, does it make their lives easier? There's always someone next, like waiting, including their principal, who always needs something from them. So they do great work, and I really would just like to publicly commend them for their efforts. Really, really positive. Switching gears, NEASC. This is a topic that we're excited about. It never ends. I think you'll see that as we go through our presentation this evening. And as everyone knows, we had a decennial visit in this past November for 4 really positive days. And then a few months later, we received our accreditation report. And part of our responsibility after we've received that report is to communicate it to various stakeholders, including the Board of Education. So that's on our website. It's been shared with our faculty. So sent it out for us as well. It's a pretty dense report, but it's really, really positive. We're very pleased with the outcome. I don't think we're surprised by anything that was in that, but we're here to share a little bit about, the overview of the report as well as our next steps. I'd like to thank the Board of Ed for the ongoing support. We really appreciate that, as well as central office. Dr. Cook trusts us and lets us get our work done, never micromanages. And if we need something, we just pick up the phone and say, Doc, I need something, or I need some input. And we really appreciate that level of trust. The Daniel Hand faculty, this is something that is so significant to high school teachers and counselors. It's so important they handle this, as true professionals like they are. And the 2 NEAS co-chairs sitting to my right, Paul Mezek, Jenna Guzzi. This process is supposed to be teacher-driven, not administrator-driven, and it has been teacher-driven the whole way. And it's really been a positive process. A lot of schools would not say that. And it's been a really good process. As Paul will tell you, though, it never ends. Like, we're already in the next cycle, and we're here to share that a little bit this evening. So I don't know, do you have the clicker? You can just jump by that one. It was just a cool slide. We like just how the town looked, and quick summary. Seriously, it's a great picture. And people aren't supposed to cross there, but they always do. Always. But it's just some nice positives. If you look, from 3, 2, 1, around performance, just overall the school system with enrollment declining. I think it's always positive to note that we have not lost a program at the high school. And when I started 12 years ago, we had, over 1,300 students. Now we have well under 800. That is truly been a great effort. And, our demographics are really positive, and we appreciate the support from our community. So I am going to now stop talking, and I'm going to turn it over to Jenna Guzzi and then Paul Mezek. We're going to talk about really the nuts and bolts of what the report shares. So at this time, Jen.
Okay, so prior to the visit, we, in collaboration with our steering committee, to whom we are eternally grateful, wrote our report, we hand that to the visiting team, and then their job on their visit is to confirm that, but also to help focus our next steps so that we're continually moving forward. One of their primary goals is to confirm that as a school district, as a school, that our decisions are being made as guided by a mission statement of vision, which is our profile of graduate, as well as core value and beliefs. So, you know, having the posters, the infamous posters, and every learning space is very positive. It just plastered all over the school that this is what we're all about, reference and instructions. And we actually asked that in addition to our priority areas for growth, which Paul will speak to, we asked them to comment on to what extent they could see their profile or graduate coming alive in instruction. We knew it was in our assessments and our curriculum, but we wanted to see where it's permeating in the classroom in a different way. And they saw that when so they're also come to assess standard 2, which is all about teaching and learning, right? They have their principles of effective teaching. And I just wanted to read one quote from their report was, by making these capacities a focal point in instruction and assessment, the school reinforces their importance and ensures they're consistently prioritized in teaching and learning processes. So that was really positive to hear.
When the team comes to the school, they measure the school through several lenses, which they define as the NEASC standards. They include learning culture, student learning, professional growth, learning support, and learning resources. Learning culture, just to give you just a general idea of what each of those are, is a school that provides a safe learning culture that ensures equity and fosters shared values among learners, educators, families, and members of the school community. Student learning is a school that has a vision of the graduate that includes the attainment of transferable skills, disciplinary and interdisciplinary knowledge, understandings, and dispositions necessary to prepare learners for the future. Professional Practices is a school that maintains and implements a school improvement and growth plan, organizational practices, and productive community relationships to meet and support student learning needs. Standard 4 Learning Support is a school that has a timely, directed, and coordinated intervention strategy for all students. And lastly, but not least, Learning Resources is a school that offers the community adequate and appropriate time, funding, and facilities to support the realization of its core values, beliefs about learning, and vision of the graduate. Within each of those standards, they have various principles by which they measure the school. And within each of the principles, they have very specific principles that they define as foundational elements. If a school doesn't meet one of those foundational elements, they technically do not meet the standard, regardless of whether or not they met all of the following principles. Of the foundational elements, I'm happy to report we met all of them. The first foundational element was providing for the students a safe environment, as well as the adults in the building. Having a core values and beliefs that aligns with the profile of a graduate. Having a written curriculum in a consistent format for all courses. Having a current school improvement plan in place. Intervention strategies in place to support all learners. And lastly, having a physical space that supports the delivery of our programs. Prior to the visit, we as a school community use the same metrics that they measure our school to measure ourselves, and that's called our self-reflection report. And what that does is it gives us an opportunity to identify areas that we would like to grow. We came up with 3 specific priority areas. Our first priority area was the completion of the curriculum. At the time of our self-reflection report, we had not met that foundational element. So we needed some time to do that before the visit, which we did. We also wanted to include the profile of the graduate capacities, which the visiting team complimented us on as very effective to be able to do that. Not many schools reach that. They did give us some recommendations, and that was to analyze data from performance-based assessments within our PLCs, look at student performance, continue with the curriculum revision cycle that we currently have in place, so we can keep this process ongoing and ensure that our capacities are current and up to date. And also take a look at some tools and practices that we can use to help students self-reflect in their growth towards meeting the profile of graduate capacities. The second area for growth was our PLC structure. This is a time where teachers want to meet after school on Tuesdays to talk about student performance, look at ways that we can improve our craft in areas of instruction and assessment. We as a leadership team felt like we needed to establish a common framework by which those meetings would take place, so we're all talking the same language in those meetings. And one neat thing with the teacher evaluation plan is that we have an opportunity to have group goals. And so teachers have used some of that PLC time when they're not talking about student performance, they're collaborating on their goals, which ultimately ends up in the classroom anyways, in areas of instruction and assessment to improve on the teaching and learning. The recommendations from the team was to expand our PLC time, if we could during the day and possibly more time after school. And they also wanted to address some teachers who, when we collaborate, it's generally teachers that teach a common subject. We do have some teachers that teach only one section of the subject, so that is a challenge. So they wanted to find ways where we can include more teachers who teach singleton classes during that time period. Our third priority area for growth was related to the physical space. One was the HVAC upgrades. The heating, cooling, and temperature in the building was an issue. Another issue was the scheduling of common places in the building. So sometimes a science teacher might want to use the athletic field for a lab, but there might be another class that's out there. So we used a Google Calendar feature that allows us to schedule different spaces, meeting rooms, athletic fields, without having any conflicts. And then lastly, we also wanted to improve the lighting and sound system upgrades for our theater production. The only recommendation from the team was to continue to develop a long-term plan that continues to address the concerns specific to programming in the dining and assembly hall.
At the conclusion of their visit, the committee came up with a number of accommodations, and I don't feel like I need to read all these to you, but they were very gratifying. They noticed that we have a strong learning culture, our curriculum development, they were stopping us and asking us how we got our whole curriculum written. How is it possible that you have this in every course? What did you do? Right? It's really unheard of to have a school with 100% of their courses approved by the Board of Education. They were impressed with our student-centered learning and the creativity and dedication of our staff in meeting the needs of students. Even, despite, in one case they noted, despite the limitations of the dining and assembly hall, the programming that takes place there is still amazing. Compounded with that dedicated staff, right, caring, trusting, wanting the best for our students, and collaborative leaders, right, that we have leaders who are really promoting leadership within the school, giving people such as Paul and myself opportunities to lead the ask, and not taking control of that, not taking it out of the hands of teachers is really noted as one example. We invited them into a coordinators meeting, right? One of our leadership team meetings in our evaluation calibration, they were absolutely wowed by that. And this, noted how that's one of the strongest PLCs that we have in our school. So the combinations were not a surprise, but it's gratifying to have that validation that, we're doing the right things here. And in addition to the recommendations that Paul came up with, they also had a few additional recommendations. So sort of looking at it and saying, hey, you had 3 priority areas for growth. You pretty much finished 2 of them. What comes next? So giving us just a little bit of guidance on that, and even within these to see some of them, trying to look for a good example. use the curriculum review cycle to ensure profiles of graduate capacities remain up to date and relevant within all content areas. They're sort of acknowledging, hey, you're in a really good place. How can we make sure that you stay there and grow this wonderful work that you've done? So I don't think that there was anything particularly, surprising in the recommendations, anything that we wouldn't have cited ourselves. But it does help us to kind of say, hey, let's take a look at these and decide what our next steps are. And we actually already began that work, because as TJ mentioned, Paul says, it never stops. So we did already take the recommendations that were specific to the priority areas for growth, but also these additional recommendations. And we, at our faculty meeting last week, we broke up into 5 groups that were, we had used actually to write our NEASC report, but they're sort of, it's not by department, there are cross sections of the school, so there's a couple people from each department to get a broad perspective. And we said, let's look at these recommendations and just start brainstorming, right? We want many eyes on the problem, we want input from everybody. And so we've already done that. We have tons of comments from people that we haven't waded through yet, but it's a really good starting point. One of our goals with the NEASC project, NEASC process is to not be impactful in a negative way to teachers. We want them to have a voice and to have input, but not to feel like NEASC is taking them away from the really important work that they're doing with students. And so we gave them an opportunity for input, but in our smaller steering committee group, we'll work through that, look at what can be consolidated and overlapped. We'll come up with a solid draft of our next school improvement plan, and then bring that complete draft back to the faculty for more input. So it sort of gives them voice without burdening them as a whole. Okay, and then sort of the most abstract part of the report is called the 4 C's. This is the capacity for continuous growth. And I mean, we really knocked it out of the water, or out of the park. What is that expression? Out of the park. Overall, the committee was just impressed by our school community. They believe that yes, you have the conceptual understanding, the commitment, the competency, and the capacity to continue to grow as a school community. They, saw probably 100 classes or more as a committee over their visit. They had meetings with board members, with administrators, leadership, students, teachers. They met with students, students and teachers met together to share work, particularly surrounding the capacities. I heard that, one of the visiting members was kind of like, this is scripted, right? Because we're like, no, they didn't tell us, and it's true, we didn't tell them one thing what to say. And they also noted our work with outside experts, our teacher evaluation plan that's been updated and is backed by research and has, as Paul mentioned, the ability to collaborate more. I know my department is one of the ones that has a lot of singleton teachers, like there's one Latin teacher, there's one Mandarin teacher. How do they collaborate? Having a common goal has been really helpful this year. And also our capital improvement plan was, evidence of our capacity.
I thought the 4 C's was that new rock band.
That would be cool.
That's right.
We had to get that.
We going on the road?
Yeah.
You're the lead, Doc. So just for our next steps, I'll backtrack just for a moment. So if you read the entire report, which is, it's a pretty detailed report, you probably noticed that it didn't mention anything about our accreditation status. So what happens next? All of the schools that went through the decennial visit that we just went through have a report like we have. That report gets submitted to the NEASC commission, and we're anticipating a letter stating our continued accreditation. I can't imagine, any way we wouldn't maintain our current accreditation. So Paul, Jen, and I, about a month ago, we went to the Next Steps NEASC Zoom meeting, and it was with all schools that were in a similar place on the 10-year cycle. And they did mention, which I think this is worth noting, that NEASC doesn't expect schools to meet all the foundational elements, all the standards, and all the principles. Because if schools did, they would go back to the drawing board and set the bar even higher. We met every single one. I think that's worth noting. It's very uncommon. And that's a compliment to our entire school community and our entire community. So again, a lot of schools, their recommendations are pages and pages. We were asked specifically, what would you like us to recommend? And we were able to give some input. So I do think that is certainly worth noting for the entire public who is either watching or maybe will watch a recording. But for our next steps, you can see by October 1st of 2025, we have to submit a revised school improvement plan, which, as Jen mentioned, we already started working on this with our faculty because we always seek their input. What the coordinators will do with that input is we'll revise after the steering committee takes a look at it. We'll bake the information from our NEAS school improvement plan into our school development plan, which is something that every school in the district obviously has. And we'll have that finished way before the October 1st deadline, but we'll submit that. And then we have a first report due February 1st of 2026 on our progress in relation to our new school improvement plan. So you can see how this process goes. And then the typical progress reports happen in February of 28, in February of 31, but there can be a special report requested at any time. And what's interesting, a special report could be requested if there's a concern, or if they're really impressed and want more about something your school's doing, they might ask for a special report. And I think it's pretty extensive because they give you 6 months to write it. I hope they're impressed, but I hope we don't get a request for a special report, just not interested in that. The substantive changes, if anything significant ever happened, you know, for example, a major reduction in funding for our school, a major reduction in reducing of staff, unrelated to, let's say, things like a decline in enrollment, or if a removal of a position like a library media specialist, that's an area, we would have to report that, you know, and that would be communicated through the superintendent. You would be aware. I don't anticipate that, but that is something that we are responsible for reporting actually on a yearly basis. And then in 2030 to 2032, we get to work on our next self-reflection, prep for the collaborative conference visit, which happens 2 years before the next decennial visit, which happens in 2034, which seems like a really far ways away, but really proud of the, you know, outcome, and we're back in it already, and it was nice to get input from all of the faculty at the faculty meeting the other day, and you know, we're moving forward. A couple of the standards have changed a little bit based on what NEAS expects, but we're still in a good place. Whatever questions, fine, we have.
No, but if you have
So
any
if you have any
questions, we're happy to
questions, Paul and Jen have all the answers.
I think
We're a little
objective
lost.
proof that you did a fantastic job, I mean, the district as a whole.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think, like you said, Jen, it's nice, like, you know, a lot of this stuff, but to hear it from them and to see it in writing and in the report, just makes it really.
Validating.
Yeah, absolutely validating, yeah, it's.
And it's interesting, like what we saw this evening before you came to talk to us, you know, the first presentation. We get presentations like that, you know, all throughout the year, and it starts to create this through line that we're seeing like common conversation around you know, just really high levels of instruction, high levels of leadership. That idea that you talked about earlier about how our administration really wants to grow leaders and is all about you know, creating capacity, and that is, it's evidence, like that every time we have a presentation, it's evidence that this is real, and it's really an amazing tapestry that's woven with each presentation. And you know, it just all, this makes so much sense when we see every other week, you know, a new, we get more input on what's happening, and it's amazing. And
It's an awesome school.
yeah, it is an awesome
It is.
school district community. I just, yeah, it really is. Nice, nicely done.
That's our word of the week, exceptional.
Well, it is.
And we did a little celebration that some of you were at, you know, we appreciate what the K and pre-K work that, you know, they send us kids ready to go and,
Yeah.
you know, there's a culture of learning and we don't have to. We don't have to encourage students to want to do well, they want to do well.
Yeah.
And the support we get from the entire community is really, you know, not only appreciated, but also not taken for granted because, you know, that's not always the case in some other communities.
But that's clear in the work that you're doing because you are wanting to reach the bar that's set high from your community, and that is that you know, it's just cyclical, and really impressive, and thank you. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Hard to
Yeah.
repeat or repeat.
Yeah. Yeah,
Thank you.
nicely done.
2034, right around the clock.
Yeah.
Be here before you know it.
Paul, Jen, thank you so much for all your work on this. I know there's
Yeah.
a lot. PJ, your leadership has been exceptional. Thank you so much. The board should notice a lot of the things that you've supported over the years, whether it's budget, whether it's curriculum writing, whether it's professional development or teachers, things like that is woven in here. Like you should see that. So the board should also feel good about your work and involvement in this. And then you see there's the piece will follow up with facilities. You know, we need to have some discussions on some work that, you know, maybe down the road, it's not that if we get to 2034, if it hasn't happened, that we wouldn't have accreditation. But I think we need to start having those discussions and see what options we have for the facility, as we have done, and the board has supported that as well. A lot of things like the HVAC was one of the biggest things we were facing, you know, a year ago, 2 years ago, when we started this process, and the board has supported making sure that happens.
Yeah, I can see Gail's watermark throughout the.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good luck with the busy tomorrow.
Thank you.
That concludes superintendent's report. Melissa?
A big one. It's a
Yeah,
good one.
Yeah.
Article C.
Four C's going on.
That's the 14th.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Sam.
Who's the basis, who's the drummer?
I think it rotates.
Steven's the leader.
I feel like Stephen might be, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, I guess, do we have any more comments among us? All right, and are there any? Is there any audience response to what was presented? Oh, good, thank you. So next up, we move to board committee reports. There's curriculum student development, I don't think they.
No, last week was our last meeting and sharing out, so we have not met.
Thank you. Emily, anything in facilities?
No, we haven't met since our last meeting.
Well, the finance committee did meet tonight and Dr. Cook and Stacy Lovelace delivered some very good news. And please correct me if I shuffle the finger or forget something. We went through the special ed excess cost grant. The bottom line is that we were conservative in budgeting for it. The state came back with a little more money, $91,000 of savings there. As a result of a new reimbursement amount. Next up, Dr. Cook discussed the 25-26 budget process along with the health insurance update. The bottom line there is, and we have a worksheet here that Stacy walked us through. I think we have a savings of about $373,000 against what we had anticipated. Which is good news. It's always highly variable. The Board of Finance votes tomorrow on our budget. I think this will be an item on their agenda. The referendum takes place on May 6th. The mill rate is set on May 7th. Those are upcoming dates. And so if we net out those savings, our estimated budget increase for next year will be about 1.87% year over year, which is a phenomenal job. And then I think I'm going to punt on the federal funds update. Because I will get lost, so if I could turn over to you to cover some of these there.
Thank you. Yeah, basically the highlights on there was in. We receive information, we receive information, almost daily on terms of what's going on at the federal level and how that funding may impact us, but we've been assured by the state that the major federal grants that we received, their words, cash flow was still coming into the state, and it should not impact the major grants that we have, such as IDEA and Title I. There is concern that Title II funding would not continue. That is $27,000 for Madison. But we do think that Title I will return based on what we're hearing from the state for Madison. It's continued for all districts this year, but we were not eligible this year. So we're expecting $100,000 in that amount. But we wanted to review kind of in detail because we've been asked a lot about federal funding and how that could impact us. Madison receives about $800,000, so it is a significant amount of money, but it's not I would say a large portion of our budget as other districts might be facing. But there has been positive news in terms of the funding continuing on. For next year, it is a federal law, so it's not something that could be easily changed or discontinued. So we feel good about where we are budget wise for next year based on that.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, these are the very latest numbers, fresh off the presses for the special ed with health and for the federal grants. So once again, Stacy did a phenomenal job. Administration has done a great job. And so we held the meeting at 5:34, adjourned it at 5:53, and there were no comments. So Maureen, anything with personnel?
We've not met, there's no.
Thank you. The policy committee did meet, I think, on the last week.
March 4th.
March 4th, yeah, thank you. There are a number of policies. Well, there's one policy for rescission to waive the second reading. That's 6070.3 curriculum pilot projects. We waived the readings for 2 other policies: the security check and fingerprinting, the naming and renaming of schools. We have policies for review of the first reading. This is all on the agenda in your packet, and we will later on tonight take action on some other policies. But the policies for review, first reading would be 2300, hold on instructional records, 5131.911, bullying prevention and intervention, 5131.914, safe school climate policy, 6070.1 curriculum development, and then we'll rescind 6070.2 curriculum, 6146.3 credit for online courses. We covered policies for review, second reading, 6040 weighted grading, calculation of grade point averages, and rescind 5128 ranking class, 6080 the IDEA, then rescind 6080.1 educating students with special needs, 6090.10 individualized education programs, special ed programs, 6110.1.3.1 parent conferences, 6114.1 fire drills and crisis response drills, 6146 graduation requirements, 7120 hazardous materials in schools. The rationale for all revisions, rescissions, modifications are in your policy, are in the packet. Very well, of course, in collaboration with council and our resident expert is behind the screen right now. So that concludes the policy review. Marion is not here for learn. I don't know if she's met with they had a breakfast.
There was a meeting.
Yeah.
She's going to.
Right, she'll catch up. She'll catch us up on that. All right. So next up would be agenda item 8, a motion to approve the renaming of Robert H. Brown Intermediate School as Robert H. Brown Elementary School effective July 1st, 2025. Do we have a motion for that? All right, who was first? Thank you, Emily. All right, and then Cassie. Is there any discussion?
Exciting.
It's exciting. All right. All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Nay? None? All right, motion carries 5-0.
That's good because the sign's ordered.
Thanks.
That's great.
And match the other signs. like the
Yes, it's gonna
postal
look the same as the postal sign and from both sides, although the other one, the current one. Did have writing on both sides, it just had been covered by
one. Or the one down the road.
by trees and things like that. I remember I had,
Yeah.
that was one complaint, concern I heard from parents over the years was that they missed the turn
Yeah.
because the sign wasn't visible, but
Yeah.
yes, the new sign will be very similar to the postal sign, so.
Nice.
Yes. All right. Yes, they're aesthetically pleasing signs, are not.
Yeah,
very-
very nice.
All right, so the next several action items concern policies, and I wish Diane were here to read them, so you just have to bear with me. Could I please get a motion to rescind the following policies? 5128 ranking class, 6080.1 educated students with special needs, 6090.10 individualized education programs / special education programs. Thank you, Maureen. Second,
Second that.
thank you, Emily. All right, we have any discussion on the matter?
I'll just comment, I really appreciate the notes that we have in the packet too, that sort of give a summary of why, and it helps to clarify. So many of them are just related to updating or not necessary or state statute things, so I appreciate those
Yeah,
notes wherever they come from, thank you,
yeah, absolutely.
very helpful.
All right, see no further discussion, we'll call it to the vote, all in favor? Aye.
I,
Okay, opposed, none, no abstentions, motion carries 5-0. The next item is I'd like a motion, please, to waive the second reading and to rescind the policy 6070.3 curriculum pilot projects.
so moved.
Second.
All right, thank you, Kathy. Okay, is there any discussion on this? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? No abstentions, motion carries. Item 11, may I please have a motion to approve the following policies? 60/40 weighted grading and calculation of grade point averages, 60/80 NEA, 6110.1.3.1 parent conferences, 6114.1 fire drills, crisis response drills, 6146 graduation requirements, 7120 hazardous materials in schools.
So moved.
Thanks,
Second.
thanks, Kathy. All right. Yeah, these were all very thoroughly vetted in committee, and so any discussion? None. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Nobody opposed, nobody abstains, motion carries 5-0. We are almost there. Action item number 12, a motion to waive the second reading and to approve the following policies. 4111.1 security check fingerprinting, 7551 naming and renaming of schools.
So moved.
Thanks, Kathy.
Second.
Thank you, Emily. Let's just go over the vote. All in favor? Aye. No opposition, no abstains, 5-0, thank you. We need a problem very here.
You're doing great, yeah.
Alrighty, and now we could I please have a motion to approve the minutes of the March 4th, 2025 Board of Education meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any inaccuracies or comments concerning the minutes? Looks good. All right, let's call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Opposed, none, no abstentions. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Would anybody like to bring up any future agenda items? All right, comments, emails, suggestions, all welcome later on. Nothing there. And it is just past 8 o'clock. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Thank you. Yeah. And the motion, the meeting is adjourned at 8:01. Oh, sorry. Get a dictatorial here. All right, ready? All in favor?
I.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you.